Salutations everyone, and thank you for watching Diabetic Radio. This is episode 65. You know, I've talked about many things on my blog. However, the one thing I haven't gotten around to talk about, which is also important, is the relationship between our blood sugars and our emotions. Aside from various medications and pre-genetic dispositions to diabetes and other illnesses, the one thing I think is extremely overlooked is our emotions when it comes to diabetes. When we are in a highly stressed situation, our blood sugar will rise, and depending on the person, the type of diabetes, and any given situation, how much our blood sugars will rise will pretty much vary from person to person. Unfortunately, there's not enough money going into this area of research, and the reason for this, I think, is the false belief amongst the general public that diabetes is purely about food. I had a conversation with a psychologist who happens to be type 1, and he is writing a book, he told me, on this very subject. He discussed the fact that for every patient that comes into his office, the first thing he insists on asking is what their blood sugars are like. Anything over 300 milligrams per deciliter, he reschedules their appointment for a later date. And it makes perfect sense. Perfect sense. The reason for this is that our high blood sugars can alter our mental state once it reaches at a particular level. A perfect example of this is when you're taking an exam, let's say, with your blood sugars high, or it can even rise during the exam. Often we start to lose focus, lose concentration, our mind wanders, and we start to develop a short attention span. Another thing that happens oftentimes, our blood pressure will rise also. Why? Because every minute you become more hypoglycemic, our blood starts to thicken because of all the presence of glucose in our blood. Our heart is trying to pump oxygen and nutrients throughout our body through thick ass blood. In essence, this is why it's so important for young diabetic children to always be on point with their blood sugars, so that they can always get as much good grades as they possibly can. Do you know that extreme blood sugars can actually mimic depression? Well, according to the therapist, it does. Having just said that, because I can relate to a lot of what I said earlier about, our emotions and blood sugars, I personally really hate it when even comedians make certain jokes, like, for instance, about women who have really bad menstrual cycles. And of course, as I've said, when you have high menstrual cycles, your blood sugar rises. Women who have difficult menstrual cycles and or difficult pregnancy, your hormones start going haywire, going all over the place, and chances are, legitimately, that person, that woman, is truly having a difficult emotional time, given the situation and where her blood sugars are at. She's not just being a bitch; she's actually having trouble. For this reason, he also said that a lot of psychologists misdiagnose many people because they don't understand the impact of blood sugars and our emotions. Actually, whether you're diabetic or not. The other thing is, in theory, this is one of the reasons why stress can very much make us gain weight, because the hormones cause the release of blood sugars, and the blood sugars also release other hormones. And where do you think all that blood sugar is going to go? The body's going to process it in the same way as if you ate food, and eventually those blood sugars will get converted into fat, thus creating weight gain. Dealing with diabetes itself can be extremely emotional for some people, therefore drive their blood sugars up the wall. This is one of the reasons I always stress to my diabetic viewers and anybody else who's diabetic in person to seek support from other people who are diabetic, aside from your family. I don't believe anyone can truly take care of their diabetes until they are emotionally balanced. However, the flip side to that coin is sometimes you have to demand support from family and friends. I remember being at a party many years ago, and I heard someone tell their family member, "Oh, you expect me, you think because you're a diabetic you expect me to eat healthy too now?" Or I've heard, "I have to cook special meals just because you're coming," and I can't help but to say to myself, well, duh, if I love the person, yes, I'm going to do it, you lazy so-and-so. I mean, as diabetics, we have to deal with a lot of insensitive, dumbass, rude comments you ever want to hear. Then many of us internalize this, unfortunately, and never really get the help that they need, because it's always in the front of their head, what a person might say, and you're always thinking, do I really want to deal with this or not? And it's a real reality for many of us. If people only knew the amount of emotional strength it really takes to deal with diabetes, for a lot of us anyway. Now that I have reversed just about all my complications, my diabetic complications, with the exception of, various food intolerances, I don't believe I suffer from diabetes. What I do suffer from are the people who feel they have the answer to save me from my illness, whatever. if some of you can remember when I've interviewed Crystal, she made a very important point, and that was we need serious advocacy beyond the computer. We have to get in people's face. And I realized a perfect example of that, in my opinion, is the whole thing with people with HIV, AIDS, SIDA. You know, everyone understands that we don't have a cure for AIDS, HIV. You know, regardless, there's no pill, there's no prayer, there's no Arubian ritual or herb that any santeros can give you. Everyone on the planet understand that currently there is no cure for AIDS, HIV. Sometimes I worry about coming across, you know, anti-vegetable, anti-vegan, healthy. It is very clear that there are many health benefits from eating plant-based foods. However, it is a whole nother thing when you suggest that eating plant-based foods cures. That I know of, fruits, vegetables, herbs, and or minerals do not have the power to alter genetic coding. However, consuming these kinds of foods can effectively help manage many chronic illnesses. I really hope that this video helps at least a little bit in terms of understanding what it's like emotionally for many of us who live with diabetes. And I just really thank you guys for all your love and support. I really deeply appreciate that. And in return, you can expect a lot more videos, a lot more quality information from both my sites, Diabetic Radio and Vintage Newscast. Bye, guys. Love you. Bye. Hugs. Bye.